My name's Chris, from a small town in Ohio. I currently play in a band called Between. But I got started in music when I was 11 years old, and my brother took me to my first show. This little bar. It was like a 90s hardcore band. For the first time, I felt like really connected and just, I didn't feel alone in a room full of people. And on the way home, my brother put in this CD called by a band called Veil. It was the first time I had really heard like a punk band, a hardcore band, like outside of like that show. The way they wrote their songs, the things they were singing about, just it was fast, it was raw. That just that adrenaline and passion of that music just got me hooked. You know, I played sports and did all the fun things that kids do, but I never really felt connected. I never really felt at one with like my friends or anything like that. I was always the odd one out. Both my brothers were really big into like punk rock, and my parents were kind of outcasts and kind of in the same vein. So, you know, we didn't go do typical family things. We went racing on the weekends, and when I was 13, I got in a pretty bad crash, and I cut my liver. The doctors told my parents I probably wouldn't wake up the next day. So like I can still hear them saying like the doctors, you know, saying like, we don't think he's gonna make it to the night. You might want to start making arrangements, and that's still like, it's kind of haunting to think about that. I was like bedridden for 3 months, wasn't allowed to move or anything. So that's when I got my first guitar. My brother went out and bought me this Ibanez, this black Ibanez, and a little like tiny practice PV amp. He brought it home, and I would sit and listen to the Ramones and try to play along and try to figure it out. And I ended up finding a couple friends that also were really big into punk rock, and you know, we wanted to start our first band. Our drummer at the time, he didn't have a drum set, but his brother did. His brother didn't want us to use it, so we had to like break into the garage and steal it. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. And then we were, you know, playing shows and, you know, starting to experience different genres and different bands, and meeting new people, and all the fun that goes into being in your first band or two. And I started to learn a little bit about the church and what I did not like about the church. And I began to play in bands that spoke very highly against the church and of Jesus and of God, and that was a crazy time in my life. I joined a band when I was 19. They were a Christian band, and I met the singer at a coffee shop, and he asked me if I played drums, and I was like, yeah, you know. He was like, well, we need a drummer, would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So I ended up joining, and you know, I wasn't a Christian at the time, and you know, they were very open and loving, and I really got my first experience of what God is through them and how they handled that whole situation. They knew my beliefs and that I didn't agree with them. You know, that was a very eye-opening experience. A little bit later into that, we had some member changes, and I went through a really rough spot of depression, and contemplated suicide, and one day I decided I was going to do that, and you know, I'd set it up, and I was ready. And I had been dating this girl, and middle of the night, early morning-ish, and she like walked in on me as like I had the gun ready to do it, and she was like, you know, God told me to come here. He woke me up and told me I should be here to stop this, and that was crazy. Still today, like it kind of takes my breath away to think about it, that like he went out of his way to wake someone up and to come stop me, and I ended up having a couple friends and a couple bands come over and stay like on a tour, and we got to pray together, and I had my experience of meeting Jesus face to face, and that's what I needed. I really began to take music seriously, and I wanted to tour. I wanted to make that my job. Actually had a van and starting to do cooler stuff, and that just as much as like the first show I ever went to, like, hooked me even more. It was like a new kind of high. Like, I got an offer to go with a national touring pop band. Besides music, the only thing I wanted to do was share my story of Christ and what He's done for me and what I know of God to be, and they gave me an opportunity to do that, and I learned so much about myself, about business, way more than college has ever taught me. Some relationships come up in life, and things start to change, and a new direction came, and I left music. I thought I was finished. I want to go on and be a husband and be a father, and so I quit music, and then there was always that band, the local band in town that I thought was the best band I ever heard. When we had the possibility of me joining that band and writing a record, I was instantly like, oh my gosh, this is what she wrote. Like, holy crap. We wrote a record that is still, I can't believe it when I listen to it. And we put this record out, and we were #1 on Radio U for like 5 weeks straight. That's probably the coolest accomplishment I've ever had. I remember the one time I was driving home from practice, and I turned on the radio, and like, I was on there. I was like singing in my truck, like just yelling, like, oh my goodness, this is happening right now. Like, it was so crazy. I was just like, this is the weirdest, coolest moment I'll ever experience. Like, but for the future, I plan to continue to lead worship right now with my church. I wanted to do music again, and I tried some other projects and some lighter stuff, but I have a lot of passionate things to say. I want people to know that there's a creator that did something, and he placed it in all of us, and he genuinely really, really loves us. And I found that through Jesus, and I need to yell into a microphone and let people know that.